guys today. So this is a 2017 Golf GTI S, and this is one of the cars that I think is one of the kings of hot hatch. Honestly, if you're looking to get into the hot hatch community and you really don't know what to buy, I'd seriously steer you towards the Golf GTI, because this is honestly one of the most responsive and best looking hatches that you can buy on the market right now. This car belongs to my good friend Jake, who's actually behind the camera right now, and we're just gonna go out and give her a rip today, because I'm super excited to drive this car. A little bit about this car. This car is powered by a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, the most common engine and turbo setup that you're gonna get with a hot hatch, because it allows it to be as light as possible while still being able to make as much power as possible. So the car's got 36,000 miles on it. It's relatively new still. So today, mostly, I'm just gonna be going over the comparison of feel, you know, what you would get for the money, and kind of just how this car ranks in my opinion against other hot hatches. If you're looking into buying one of these things, honestly, they are not the cheapest hot hatch on the market, but it's definitely you know, something to say about the quality that comes with this car, even being the base model. So, oh my lord. So my friend Jake picked this car up for about 20K. With 12,000 miles on it. Now, that is a very low mileage, but I'd say what you get with the car interior wise and the quality of the craftsmanship of all the, you know, the steering wheel and all the leathers and the soft touch plastics and the cloth, is honestly the best that you can get, because in comparison to my Focus, that is an ST3, but even with the leather and the way that the interior is quality wise, I still say this is honestly, it will give it a run for its money. And I did not buy my Focus with that low of miles on it, and it was still very expensive. So bang for the buck, this is probably one of the best hatchbacks you can get. But let me go over a little bit of the mods with this car, and Jake, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. So we've got a catted downpipe from CTS running all the way back to an AWE Touring catback. So I think that was a good choice to go with the Touring, because I have the track catback on my car, and let me tell you, that thing is unbearably loud. So I think if you want to keep it subtle while still having fun, the Touring section, or the Touring axleback, is definitely the way to go with this car. So on top of that, we have a short shifter, and that's an OEM style short shifter, so it just replaces the short shifter under the hood, doesn't touch anything here, which is good, because I think the shifter height is perfectly fine the way it is. And on top of that, you have this super nice Black Forest Industries shift knob, and it's weighted and it has Alcantara wrapped around it, and honestly, it just gives the car a more premium feel on the inside. And of course, with turbocharged cars, you want to hear the turbo. What the hell is that? And of course, on turbocharged cars, you want to hear the turbo. So we have a K&N Typhoon intake on the front of the car, and we also have a Turbo Smart blow-off valve. So after you hear, you know, after you spool up the turbo a little bit, you get that nice whooshing sound as you get off of it. Always cool to know that you're driving a turbocharged car when you can hear all those induction sounds and hear the blow-off valve after. Big fan of that. When you're looking at one of these cars, now what do they make power-wise? So out of the box, this car makes about 220 horsepower to the crank and about 250 torque to the crank. And now correct me if I'm wrong, but this car has a Stage 2 Unitronic tune on it also. With this Stage 2 tune, you're looking at about 330 horsepower to the crank and 370 torque to the crank, which is a huge difference. That's like 110 horsepower to the crank and what is that, 150 torque to the crank, or no, 120 torque to the crank. All right, so we've got it slowed down a little bit, and I think we're going to go ahead and feel what that feels like. I'm just going to roll into it here. Very healthy amount of power, a lot of fun too. You can get in trouble if you stay in it, but honestly, that's like, for a hot hatch, that's a perfect amount of power. It's just enough to where it's usable in the corners, which is where you want to be when you're driving a hot hatch. But at the same time, in a straight line, it still gives you a little bit of that, you know, that torquey feeling. One other thing to note about this car, and one modification that I didn't mention that I don't know how I overlooked, was that this car is equipped with BC Racing Sport coilovers. So that means that when you go around a corner, it gets a lot more fun. The feel, it is pretty stiff to drive on, and this dude's gonna pass me. It keeps you much more planted in the corners. I'm just gonna rip through this one real quick. Dude, the more I drive this car, the more I fall. Ooh. That is one thing though, they are very stiff, but with the you know, with giving up a little bit of comfort, you gain a little bit more fun, and I think that's what these cars are all about. So I would honestly do the same thing. Chuck comfort out the window. And one thing I'd like to note about this AWE touring system, it makes this car sound like an old rally car. And I know that's such a strange thing to say, but it's true, honestly. Like, I'll try to give you a little listen of it. I just want to make sure there's no cop there. Dude, it just sounds like an old rally car. Like, if you ever played Dirt 2 or whatever, oh my god. But back on the BC Coilovers thing, we are taking these corners at a very comfortable 55 miles an hour. And I mean comfortable, like, I wasn't nervous in there at all. And honestly, some cars make me nervous to take corners in, but now that these things have the BC Racing Coilovers, man, is it flat through these corners. It just takes them. And honestly, there's no body roll whatsoever. Absolutely awesome. No body roll. Just accelerate through the corner. Oh yeah, this is what hot hatches are all about right here. Just cruising on a back road, just relaxing, just having fun, and not fun by too much speed, but fun in able to take corners and able to accelerate decently, which is why I love hot hatches so much. Yeah, dude, this thing just feels like an old rally car. That's the best I can describe this. And it also does have a stage 2 crackle tune on it too, so you get those nice little burbles as you are decelerating or off the throttle. But honestly, I could compare this to the Lovrien that I reviewed a little while back. Of course, that thing did have a stuffed turbo on it, and that was pretty insane. That's about as stretched out as you can get power-wise and aggression-wise with a hot hatch. But this is just, honestly, this is the perfect level of performance right here. You got cornering, you've got speed, not necessarily straight line speed, but that's not why you buy these cars. You buy these cars to go dip into the corners and have fun. So, what do I think about the Golf GTI? I love it. And I honestly say, if you want to get into the hot hatch market, either the Lovrien or the Golf GTI is the way to go. Alright, so I'm honestly really sad about having to give this little car back to Jake. It was so much fun. It makes so many awesome noises. It's amazing in the corners, and it's such a nice interior. For the money, I think it's honestly, it's a bang for your buck kind of car. Dip in right here. Yeah, really stretching these coilovers out. Wow, alright. And I think that is going to be the end of this little review. Jake, thank you very much for letting me drive your car. And everybody, I will see you guys in the next video. Later.